Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dorothy here from the CCMA. Delighted to welcome you all this morning to our webinar. And on screen, you'll see Niamh, as always, from WSI. But we're absolutely delighted. Well, we're obviously delighted to see Niamh as well. But we're absolutely delighted to welcome Tina, Larkin and Niall Grogan from AIB. And I know a good few of their AIB colleagues are going to join us this morning. And just before we came on, they actually asked me to make sure that you ask the toughest questions possible to really put them to the pins of their collar. So let's encourage you all to do that, and we'll have a bit of fun. But the very important subject this morning is lessons learned in leadership. And one of the reasons we're delighted to have Tina is that she was the joint winner at our CCMA 2020 awards of the category Team Leader of the Year, and a well-deserved accolade for her. And we were delighted that she won it, and we're absolutely delighted that she's going to share some insights on her experience in terms of leadership and how she's been managing in the whole remote scenario that we're all currently in at the moment. Niall is Tina's line manager, and delighted that he has joined us as well this morning to just give an oversight of the area and then obviously to share his perspective in terms of leadership. So as I say, we give a minute or two. We're just at 11:01. For anybody who hasn't been on one of our webinars before, we do record them. But also you'll see over to the right hand side the little box. You're probably more than familiar with them from all the different platforms at this stage, where you can put in a question or a comment or encouragement or whatever you'd like to do, and I'll relay all those messages to Tina and to Niall. So we have 30 minutes, and I'm going to hand over first to Niall. He's going to give an introduction of the area of AIB that Tina himself work in, and then we're going to have a little bit of an interaction in terms of questions and some insights to be shared. So thanks a million, Niall. Thanks, Tina, and myself and Niamh will hand over to you both now.
Thanks very much, Dorothy. It's actually great to be involved in this seminar for lessons learned in leadership. To give you an overview of Direct, Direct is the sales and service contact centre for AIB. We provide customer service for both personal and business customers in relation to their online and daily banking needs. We also have the responsibility of monitoring payments for our customers to help protect against fraud, which is a key element. Myself and Tina are part of the business sales perspective of Direct, but we also have a personal element to that too. We're responsible for the delivery of the lending products across phone and online. When you put that all together, there are 675 staff that are sitting within the Direct umbrella. And we would have pre-COVID been situated in Naas and Airside. The reason why I say pre-COVID is obviously due to the pandemic and social distancing and guidelines, things had to change. So while we would have had a small element of people who had the remote capability, we never would have actually had the capability for remote call recording, which is a key element to our business, and which enabled our staff then to be able to take calls from customers from home. So there was an immense piece of work undertaking in 2020 to mobilise the troops. Huge collaboration across both internal and external stakeholders, so that we could actually get these capabilities in place. At the end of December 2020, we had 455 staff across the business who actually were enabled to work from home, and the plan is to, over the coming months, to have that up to full 100% enablement. Like many companies through the pandemic, we had a lot of challenges to adapt to, but obviously a key one was actually leading our teams from a different environment. As you can imagine, being used to having your part of your team sitting around you and being able to interact on a daily basis. This virtual world that we became was a key one that we had to adapt and work towards. And this is where I'm actually going to bring Tina into the conversation, because it's actually great pride that Tina actually won our joint winner for the CCMA Team Leader in 2020. So while the rest of us were struggling through the pandemic, Tina was off celebrating this great win. I suppose I've been Tina's people leader for a few years. I won't say how many, but it's been a combination of all her skills as a people leader over those years coming to fruition in 2020 with this great achievement. So she's a highly regarded member of the team, as you can imagine, and it was great pride across not just myself but the team in Direct, but across the bank for her to win it. Tina, I suppose I'm just going to bring you into the conversation just to talk through, I suppose, how did you actually continue that connection from adapting? So, like, encouraging the teamwork, which is obviously a big part of our world and also, you know, with going from having the team in front of you to working remotely, how we have to actually get that through.
Great, thanks, Niall. Just, I suppose, for me, teamwork is so important. I don't think I'd be sitting here today as CCMA team leader if I didn't have strong teamwork come across in my submission. And I'm probably well known across our own team for my hashtag teamwork makes the dream work, and probably annoys people at times when they see that at the end of an email, but for me, I genuinely believe it. I don't think you can achieve any of your plans or meet any of your targets or your SLAs or your service levels if you don't have your team humming behind you, supporting you, and basically working together and going in to achieve those plans. So I do believe teamwork makes the dream work. I suppose as people leader, it's really important that I lead by example in that respect. So, you know, coming into the office with a bit of energy and positivity, I suppose, when we were in the office. But again, now since we're not in the office, it's making sure that comes across. It's probably a really difficult time for all of us working remotely. COVID has probably had negative impacts on a lot of people for different reasons, homeschooling, a different personal situation. So my job as people leader to keep that team cohesion, I suppose, is to keep that positivity and that drive within the team and keep the energy levels up and do whatever I can now using, I suppose, the remote capability in terms of links, emails, and then I suppose keeping the team really informed across the board. You know, we'd probably have taken the time when they were sitting in the office to maybe go into the breakout area for a quick catch up if something came up. Now it's about making sure that we utilize what we have, and the fact that the guys aren't sitting in front of us and deliver those key messages. And it's my job, I suppose, as people leader to drive that out and keep that team piece together. I suppose a couple of things that I would look to do, including the team across the board. So looking for their feedback since we've gone remote. Is this working? You know, I'm sending this by email. Do we prefer to have a quick call and a chat on it? Or should we be sending, you know, kind of more bite-sized pieces of information and getting the feedback from the team? That's fundamental. They feel like they have adding a bit of work as well, so that cohesion and unit piece becomes more clear. I suppose for me, again, and just keeping the team involved, so, you know, champion roles and advocacy roles. You know, if a team feels part of the what we're trying to deliver, I think it brings everybody together and they start to support each other more, and then they support me to achieve what we need to do, and I can help them to get there as well. So I don't think you can underestimate the importance of teamwork, and since we've gone remote, it's probably even more important. For me as well, I suppose we're very lucky in Direct. We've a very cohesive group, I suppose, especially, you know, I can only obviously talk for the business teams where I've worked, but we work really well together. And we've built some really strong relationships with our teams. And I think the fun element that we have within the business is important, and even more so important now that we're remote. I think, you know, if you think about it, when you would have been walking through the office, you had to stop at the printer, or you'd have stopped at the stairwell or below in the canteen to talk to somebody and have a bit of a laugh. That's not there at the moment. So, you know, you need to consciously you do have to make an effort to reach out to people now. And one thing we've started to do, so I suppose we've got a steps challenge ongoing at the moment, which is non-work related and is getting a bit of traction and a bit of fun. We did that in my own team last year, and I talk about competitive edge, you know, it gave me a bit of confidence that we were going to achieve our targets as well, with competition that came in. But also virtual coffees is something we've brought into the teams recently as well. So if you think about it, we're all still taking tea breaks and lunches, just probably on our own now, not meeting anybody or linking in with anyone. So we did a virtual coffee there a couple of weeks ago where work was off the table, so no work talk. Talked about everything from the rugby to Netflix recommendations, and everybody seems to be walking at the moment. So we had a lot of talks around where people are doing their walk. So I think from a teamwork perspective, the fun element is absolutely imperative as well.
And just on that, I suppose, from a teamwork, so that's you keeping connected to the team. How did you ensure that the team were connected with each other, basically, so that it's not just you always having to, you know, right, we'll organise this or organise that, that they actually felt to be able to connect with each other, basically, without having it to go through yourself?
Yeah, so we have a team link that we set up every morning. We probably did it even before we went remote. So the team are asking each other questions and conversing with each other and reaching out to each other on that. But we've also got a buddy system, Niall. So That keeps the team connected. I think it's really important that you're not just on your own. You'd be used to reaching across the pod to talk to somebody. So having that connection now outside the office that you touching base with on a daily basis or every second day, just to kind of hop all on different things, but also to share the workload and the pressures that are happening. I think it's really important that the team are rallying together and not just me leading them out, that they have that cohesion piece themselves. So that's working really well.
Yeah, and I suppose I can see all the benefits of that when I'm looking at the year-end plans being achieved, and even into 2021, how well the team are doing. So well done.
Thank you.
So Tina and Niall, come in with my first question from Cormac, and he has asked quite a specific question. Were you able to record your staff calls when working from home, and what was different about coaching them when working from home?
So I'll just come in on the recording of staff calls. Perfect. So the staff calls themselves through our link process are not being recorded. So they're actually good one-to-one conversations that are not being recorded. Obviously a document conversation if you needed to. But from a customer to staff calls, yes, that was something that had to be actually mobilized for our teams to ensure that we've all the securities and callback availability for any of those calls. Tina, if you wanted to come in on any point of that.
Yeah, so I suppose then just the remote training piece, we operate kind of a screen share, so that's worked really well. Before you'd have got up and you'd have walked over to the desk and you'd probably have talked somebody through something. Now they can actually share their screen with you, and you can have that conversation over the phone and actually talk them through each of the screens that they're on. So albeit they're remote, you're still able to coach and develop the teams and bring them through the process and procedures live while they're actually on the call. So that's worked really well for us.
And it was a big call out when you're having, sorry, Dorothy, it is a big call out when you're having that one-to-one conversation with people that, you know, it's their career and their development as well. So it's important that they don't think that this has been recorded and been used in some way, you know, to get the buy-in and ensure that it's that comfortable conversation that we would have had when we're in the office and being able to chat through.
And then in terms of managing a high performance, you've obviously a very successful team and a very, very strong teamwork. How do you keep them motivated? I know you've talked about things like the buddy system, and I know that the informal coffee chats, but what else do you do, Tina, to keep them engaged and to try and build up that team spirit, as it were?
Yeah, so for me, I'm very lucky. I have a very high performing team. You know, a lot of time and work has gone in from their side and from my side to bring us to the level that we're at. And I suppose one of the key things for me is actually getting to know the team. So been on a couple of development programs over the years, and even that self-awareness piece of knowing yourself as well, and then knowing the personalities you have within your team, what makes them tick, what makes them, you know, motivated. Some people want to move on in their career, some people don't. So it's about me understanding the person that I'm dealing with, so I know what motivates them and what drives them, and I can, I suppose, alter my messages, same message, but alter how I deliver the message to make sure that I get that buy-in from the team and keep them on side and keep them, I suppose, enjoying their role. It's really important that if you want to keep a team motivated, that they feel challenged, and that there's something for them to strive towards. And I work really closely with them to make sure that we keep that. And obviously through their one-to-ones and different conversations, we keep going with what they want to develop with and what keeps them motivated. And then I suppose just a couple of other things that I would do regularly. I don't think there's anybody on a team who doesn't get a buzz out of getting an element of recognition for what they do. And something I'm very strong on, if somebody is doing a good job or stepping up into a role or overachieving or just, you know, standing out for different reasons, that I share that across our management team, which we're really good at doing. And I know, Niall, your email box can be full from time to time, but for me it's huge. I don't think there's anybody sitting at their desk who doesn't get an element of you know, some sort of self-worth and belief that they're doing a good job when they get a recognition back from either me as their team leader or Niall and Brenda further up the chain. So I think it's really important that we continue to recognise people, and more so now when people are remote, because people might think, you know, they don't know what I'm doing here, I don't have that same connect. So recognition for me is absolutely key. Yeah. Anything else on that, Niall?
Yeah, and I suppose just even from my own team perspective, the wider management team, Dorothy, like Tina is one of a number of staff that are at the same level of really encouraging their team, recognizing what they do and what they do well. And I actually love seeing those mails coming through so that it keeps me connected with what's happening with the guys, and all the sense of, you know, hitting their plans, hitting their numbers, you know, getting feedback from customers on an engagement. Like, there's nothing better than a customer taking the time out to send in an email or a letter, whatever way it is, to say, listen, I dealt with a certain person on the team, and, you know, they gave me anything that I needed was done in a timely, efficient manner, and I felt important and felt wanted, and that we're willing to do business with AIB again. So, you know, that kind of thing is, it's brilliant, and being able to share that then with the wider management team and further on, as Tina says, it's great, and it really does give a boost to the guys. So I think the recognition is a massive piece of everything we do in Direct.
And then Teresa's just asked here, Tina, wondering, what do you do for recognition in a virtual world? Is it like a digital thank you, time off, or something monetary?
So we use a digital thank you. So there's a appreciate, which we would send, that would go to their people leader. So for me, if I'm sending it to my own team, it'll go to me, and Niall will see it as well. Or if I was sending it to somebody who wasn't in my direct line, it would go to their line manager. We're also very good, I suppose, at using the email itself. So a lot of stuff from customers might come through on emails, or you might get and you share that around within the team, but you'd also add different layers of management onto it as well, to make sure that everybody is getting recognized for the hard work that they're doing. We would also do, I suppose, across our customer services, we would look at people and giving people recognition across the board as well, in terms of kind of people of the month and different things like that. So that has gained great traction. And in the past, my own team would have won team of the month, and you get a real kick and buzz out of it, and sharing it on our SharePoint and getting people trending and hashtags, and it brings a bit of fun into it, and I think people really enjoy that.
And then, you know, normally in the contact center environment, when you're all there in the pods and there's a sales team, and there would be sort of incentive type programs, are you still able to do that? Like, I suppose, as Teresa was saying, that, you know, some sort of benefit, like a half day or something like that, are you still able to do those sort of, I suppose, monetary type incentives?
We would still be looking towards, you know, a bit of time off. Definitely, I think everybody, especially in a remote environment, when they're at home, to be able to look outside, especially with the longer evenings, to take a half an hour off, maybe on a Friday, or sign on a bit later on a Monday morning. So definitely, yeah, that is stuff that we do look at on a weekly and a monthly basis. Those little incentives to say, listen, thanks very much for all the effort. You know, really well done. Sign off there now and finish up. Or if people are looking to do something, or, you know, accumulate a few half hours or hours here, and might take a half day, whatever it is. Yeah, no, definitely we would be looking at those type of things. Monetary, not so much, but definitely the hours off would definitely be a key element.
Yeah, and the time off, definitely, when people are sitting at the desk at home, definitely lands very well with people when they get that extra time off.
And then just on the always on communication, just can you give insights and maybe on the technology that you guys are using, that maybe some of the companies on the webinar might find of interest, that you think are really working in terms of trying to, you know, keep the team together and communicate with the team?
Yeah, so we actually use Microsoft Teams. Is obviously Teams is going to be building out, but we use Microsoft through the link, so you can actually have the video interaction on a one-to-one basis or as a group, which is actually really, really good. It's something that we've really grasped upon in this virtual world. I think Tina spoke there around, you know, the virtual coffees and lunches, and getting away from the business element. You know, we jump on the technologies like the Zooms and all the rest of it, so that we can see everybody on the one page and being able to interact. So it's very much what technology is there. And good old mobile phone too does come in handy sometimes, just to ring them up or a quick link. But I think they're the main ones that we would utilize.
Yeah, and I suppose from a communication perspective, that still is as important, and probably even more so important now. So using the likes of Skype and the video calls, the link video calls, and having your one-to-ones and being able to see people and talk through with them. And then, as Niall said, probably the more regular touch points will happen via the mobile phone than just to touch base with the teams and make sure that everybody's doing okay. And then obviously the Zooms, when we're having the probably non-work related conversations and having the bit of fun and the bringing the, I suppose, bit of crack into the team, that's been used as well. So I think we're definitely utilizing all of them really well.
Great. And Mark has asked specifically, what technical issues did you have with recording calls remotely, if you did have any?
So I haven't come across, I suppose the technical issues is just making sure that everybody was set up correct. Wi-Fi obviously is a big thing when you're talking to people in the four corners the country, ensuring that the line stayed up and that we weren't losing calls halfway through. And I think Air have a massive part to be a partner, as a technology partner, to do that, and ensuring the licenses that everybody had was working fine, and the capability to keep the technology up. But fingers crossed, we haven't had anything too major that has impacted. And the guys have really adapted well. The training that would have happened, and shown them how to use the systems, while it's still the same screens that they're looking at, but that little bit of signing on correctly, ensuring that the call recording is up, and testing the line on a regular basis is something that's really been built into our ways of working from an oversight perspective. And that's a key element, is the testing of the lines.
Great. And then a question from Emma, but I'm going to add my own question to it as well, Tina. Just to share the impact of winning the award, and what your plan are, your next steps from a career development perspective.
Yeah, so I can honestly say I was absolutely blown away when I won the award. A lot of work goes into the submission, putting it together, trying to sell yourself. That's probably the hardest part of it all. I think I was on my 6th draft by the time I actually got to looking like something that potentially could look like a winning submission. But I suppose this year was slightly different. I've been very lucky in the past. I've attended the CCMA awards with members of my team have been nominated, and colleagues, and it's just a phenomenal night for people to be called out and brought up on stage. Obviously this year was really different, but what was really nice about this year was I was at home with my own family here, and they probably would never have been involved as much, so we made a really big deal of it. And honestly, when my name was called out, it was just it was one of the highlights of the years for me overall, my career, in fairness, to just get the recognition for that. So that in itself was phenomenal. I regularly show off my award, showed it to Niall there during the week.
I'm surprised it's not actually behind you there on the screen.
But from a career perspective, I suppose, Dorothy, for me, I've always been someone who's looked to my career and what can I do next and how do I develop myself. I've spent a lot of time on my own personal development, which I bring to my people leader role with me as well. So I've done my exams needed for the role. I've done a few extra exams. I have my professional banker. And then just through development programs and different webinars throughout the year, just continue to develop myself, so that if a role does come up into the future, that I'm ready and prepped to take it on. I've been involved in a project for the last couple of months, so that's been another development for me in terms of leading out a team remotely again. So I'm continuously, I suppose, looking to my own development, and I would encourage anybody as a people leader to continue to do that, because that's what will probably hopefully make me step out from others if a role does come up down the line. For now, I'm just going to keep the head down, Dorothy, and continue to have the high performing team and keep motivating people until the next opportunity comes up.
I'm glad to hear it.
And Niall, just to ask you, one of the things that has come across in all of these webinars we've been having recently is people in some circumstances feel a little bit invisible, and at a certain stage of their career they feel that COVID is putting a halt to their progression. So in your role, would you give them any tips about, obviously some of what Tina shared there is exactly what you should be doing, putting your hand up, getting engaged in projects outside your own work area, your own personal development, but anything else you might encourage them or have them think about?
Yeah, to be honest with you, from Tina's actually hit it in the head. It's all about looking at yourself and what you want from your career, but staying connected to the people around you that actually can develop you and actually can see things in you that you mightn't see yourself. So having a regular conversations with your own people leaders it's vital. I continue to do them myself, looking at the opportunities within your business or external. I think the big learning for Tina this year, and I think it's for anybody, it's that type of project work that probably never would have come to our desk before, and being able to divulge into that, and it's brought on a whole new kind of opportunities, should I say, into the future where maybe Tina mightn't have had. So those kind of things, definitely you need to stay connected with your people leader, looking at your own core skills, what is it that you enjoy doing, what's in the job at the moment that you want to increase, but then what's in the job that actually, I'm not so comfortable with, but I wouldn't mind actually developing more, or actually, can I remove this baggage from it so that I can develop all the good skills within myself. So, it really is any career development, any journey that you go on, it's actually looking at yourself, looking at what you enjoy doing, and then actually trying to adapt that into a specific role that may come up into the future. and that feeling of being lost, or progression, and we're working from home, or not in amongst it or anything like that. It's staying connected, and staying connected is by sharing ideas, seeing things that are happening in your business, and making sure that people know that you're there, and that you're coming back to your, again, I keep saying it, like, that connection and the communication with your people leader is vital in any career development. And the one-to-one conversation, picking up the phone, knowing that door is always open. And as a people leader, you have to make sure that you, your staff and the team know that is the case, and they can talk to you at any point.
Great. And a question from Sean. Prior to the pandemic, did you have any of your staff working from home on a full-time basis? And going forward, will there be more staff wanting to work from home? And what are your views on this? So I don't know if you want to take that one first, Tina.
Yeah, so I suppose, so for me, I would have had a team across multiple locations, but probably not had any staff working from home, because the remote capability from a call recording perspective wasn't there at the time, and it's really only come in since COVID. I would say probably you will see more people, probably some people will love to get back to the office. I know that from a personal perspective, it doesn't suit a lot of people to be at home full time. And then there's others who absolutely are embracing it and loving every bit of it. I think probably into the future, there will be an element of a bit of both happening, I'd say. But there are definitely pros and cons for some people over others to being at home and in the office. But I think the role itself has proven that it can be done an element from home. So there, you would imagine that into the future that will form a part of our working world.
Yeah, and just to double on that, like, we're talking about a large number of staff in 2 locations. If you want to expand on that number, to try and find another building to bring them all in together is not that simple. So, like, having this remote capability now, it opens up a few more conversations around our structure and how we operate. But as Tina said, there's a balance between to be had with being full-time remote and obviously full-time in the office, and maybe getting that fine-tuned is obviously a big talking point from our own perspective anyway, into the future, and as we call it, the ways of working into 2021.
Yeah, and I think from talking to other member companies in the last few months, everybody's at the same stage. They're doing surveys, they're trying to get an idea of what people want. And until we know where we are with lockdowns, vaccinations, nobody really knows. And I think earlier, maybe in January, people would have been saying, maybe September, we'll be looking for people to come back in the office, but that seems to be moving out quite a bit. So I think, Sean, it's a hard question, because nobody really knows, and companies just really are focused on supporting their teams and their staff and making sure that everybody's comfortable in the way they're working currently. So 2 other questions, and I'm conscious of time. You'll never believe we've only 2 minutes left. Mark has asked, did the level of complaints or fraud remain the same whilst working from home or working remotely? Don't know if you want a quick answer on that.
So the level of complaints, it's to say, I think we've been really adapted really well, and I haven't seen any stats to tell me that our customers are getting any impact in relation to it. I think it's actually, we're actually staff are working just as hard and even more on a remote end than in the office. So the complaints, no, definitely not. Just on that second element around fraud, I do think there is a massive, and this is, you see the advertisements across all the banking industry, it is a bigger piece of work that's impacting our business. People have moved on to the online purchasing piece that may never have done before, and the fraudsters are really picking up on that and trying to get people to click on links that they may not. So I'd encourage anybody here, if they've done something online, if anyway in doubt at all about something, don't click that link, because it is becoming a bigger impact on the banking industry.
And then I'm not sure specifically what Sean is asking here. The question is, any audit issues with audit for working from home?
No. Simple as that. No. It's something that was very keen on the risk, and we've a great team behind us in relation to that, to ensure that was definitely never going to be an issue. And we were able to adapt all our scripting and everything, and it's the very same as if they were sitting in the office. So no, that was something that was very high on the agenda before any of the remote capabilities was rolled out. We needed to make sure that any audit work, anything, that we're still compliant in everything that we do, and there's no impact on it. So no, that's definitely something I can say very confident about.
Brilliant. And my last question, Tina, for anybody who's on the webinar this morning who's aspiring to be an award-winning team leader like yourself, 1 or 2 tips for them of what I know we've already talked about, putting your hand up and your personal developing, anything else, even in terms of managing a team, if they already are managing a team currently?
Yeah, so I suppose for me, I'm always looking at different ways. Don't be afraid to change stuff. If you implement something, you know, it's okay if it doesn't work the first time. Niall mentioned earlier, you've got a lot of good colleagues around you who would be in people leader roles. There's a lot of people there who have a lot of experience, even more so than me. Don't be afraid to ask people's opinions on stuff, because what works for them mightn't work for you, but they might be doing something really small that you just didn't think of. And when you implement it, it could be a game changer. And then I suppose the last thing is just bring your all and keep that positivity. I think if you breathe that into your team, I think it'll come back to you in spades, and it'll absolutely stand to you in the end.
Great, so that's perfect note to finish. And just to say, you know, certainly from my perspective, being involved with the judging panel for this category, you know, your positivity just shone through when we got to have a chat with you as part of the adjudication process. And it is a difficult time, and I suppose we know that people are going through highs and lows and peaks and troughs, and it really is important to make sure that everybody's feeling part of the team and engaged and are supported. And you know, you're obviously doing that in spades. So delighted that you got the accolade and the recognition that was so richly deserved. So you'd be delighted it's over now. I know there was a bit of nerves at the beginning, but our 30 minutes, I told you it would fly. Just to remind everybody on the webinar that our next event is actually next Wednesday to mark International Women's Day, and it's under the heading of Choose to Challenge even. And we have a really great lineup, so you'll see the details on the website. So hopefully some of you can join us for that. And just also to say, I know Tina and Niall are both on LinkedIn, so if anybody wants to connect with them directly after this, if they have any more questions or insights that they would like further information on, please feel free. I know Tina and Niall have no issues with you getting in touch, or if you can't find them on LinkedIn, just drop me an email. But Tina, I know you're in beautiful Kerry and Niall is in lovely Kilkenny, and I'm in Kildare and Niamh is in Dublin, and the sun isn't quite out yet, but hopefully we'll all get to go on a little coffee break now. And thank you so much. I know how much time you put into preparing for this. We really appreciate it, and it was a really great event. So thanks so much, and congratulations again, Tina. And next time I see you, hopefully we'll be in the Burlington and we'll be having a glass of.
Absolutely.
I look forward to it.
Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks,
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.